Hi, I'm Bet from Bet's Makes, and today we're going to be doing Arabesque paper tile ornaments. So that you can make a couple of cute little ornaments like this. We have 11 different designs that we're going to be able to choose from, and we'll make 2 or 3 of these and then put them together. This is going to be so much fun. And just before we get going, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. So here we are in Cricut Design Space, and we're going to make these paper tile ornaments. So I'm just going to start a new file and I'm going to replace it. And then we're going to go to the uploads. If you go to my resource library, you will find the upload for this particular project. I'm just going to view all here. And this is the file that you're going to be looking for. It's just simply called tiles. Want you to upload it and then insert the image, and you'll notice that everything is all put together here in groups of 3. We are not going to do all of these, but we'll pick on 1 or 2 in order to get there. So the first thing I want to do is I want to ungroup these because we only want to get to a few of them. I think what we'll make is this one here, so we're going to keep that. Let me just highlight that one. Just going to put it over to the side here, and then the next one we'll do is this one. So I'm just going to highlight that one. I'm going to move it over to the side, and I'm actually going to delete these off my screen because we no longer want to work with them. Perfect. So now we have these tiles that we're going to work with. Now this will be the front side of the tile. You're going to need a back side as well. But before we do any duplication, we want to write our greeting on the inside here. So I'm just going to zoom in a bit. Let's see this, 150. I better bring it over here on our desktop. It's just so that I can see what we're doing here. Let's make it 200%. Now you don't have to leave them on top of each other now, so you can simply ungroup those, because they are going to go on separate pieces of paper. This will have a pad that goes from here to here. You will put that together. This one will go on top. But what you really want are these top pieces. And we're going to do the same with this one here. I am going to ungroup it. And we just want this top piece. So these are the 2 pieces we want. This is where you're going to put a saying. I had put Happy Holidays on the one I was working with. So let's go over and let's pick on some text, and happy, and then holidays. I am going to make sure that they are centered. Now those words are huge, but I don't necessarily like the font. So what I want to come over here is I want to pick a writing font. So I'm going to click on the filter, pick on writing, and I might just do the single layer cutting writing here. This is Alexis, and it looks like it's a Cricut Access one, but you could use any of your other ones. I might even use one of my own later. You'll notice when you take a look at the words here that they're pretty far apart, and we're going to have to join them together. But before we do that, there's a couple of things you have to make note of. You'll notice that these are pretty close here, but these are far, far away. So what I'm going to do is put them close together first, as close as I can get them, and then I'm going to ungroup them and get them so they match. So let's start by coming up here to the letter space, and I am going to click on the down arrow, and as you can see it move in. I'm going to place it so that most of the letters are close together. It's getting a little better. You'll notice the S at the end and the L and the O. There's a couple of things overlapping, but it's pretty close together. So let's start and let's hide the item right behind it so we can see how close together these are not bad. You notice there's an issue here, an issue here. This is too far away and this is too close. So what we really need to do is click on it and ungroup it. what we'll do is we will move these letters one at a time, and I'm just going to use my arrow keys so I get where it almost is. Well, that was too far. So I'm going to place it so it comes as a stroke that doesn't look too bad. I'm going to move this a little closer together. And it doesn't matter if they're perfect. Notice the Y is a long way out. Now it looks pretty good. What I'm going to do with this happy is I'm just going to group it together so I don't mess it up. Now we're going to work on this one. Now the L and the O don't quite match each other, but I'm not too sure if that's too much of an issue. But so let's take a look at the L. The L looks pretty good. We might move it out a bit. And you know, it's going to be a little far away from each other no matter what. Let's take the I and let's push it over. Now I move the D just a little bit to make it look good. Means we're going to have to move the A as well. I want the handwriting to be pretty smooth, but it doesn't have to be perfect. Now let's move that Y right into place. There we go. Well, almost. And the S, now we want the S to join. There we go. Happy holidays. That looks pretty good. Not to worry about the O. The H is just fine. Let's highlight over all of those. Let's group them. Now, in order to keep them the way they are, you probably want to attach them so that they're not going to fall apart. So because we have it grouped, it doesn't really matter. So I'm just going to attach them. Now let's find our one that we turned out. Let's turn that back on. So you can see Happy Holidays is going to be big for either one, but they're both going to be different. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate and move this one over this one and this one here. And then I am going to resize with my little arrow. So I have it so that it fits the way I want, maybe a little bit smaller. Now you can't exactly center this because up and down it's not going to work, but side to side it might. So I'll highlight the two of them and I will come up here to align. And let's do it horizontally. It moved a little bit. Yep, that looks pretty good. Okay, so what I want to do here is I want to make sure I attach these. And of course, with the draw on this, that works perfectly. So let's come back to this one. We're going to resize it so it fits. You don't have to use Happy Holidays. You can use something of your own. This one can be a little bit bigger. Maybe even a little bit bigger yet. Just have to make sure it's going to fit in there. That looks a little too big. Perfect. Okay, so let's put those together. Let's go to the Align, Center Horizontally. Now that looks pretty darn good. Oh, Control Z, it moved on me. I'm going to take those two together. Most of the time I do group it, but I am going to attach it. Now here's the interesting thing. You can have 3 different colors of everything you're going to print out here. So the cut can be 3 different colors. I like to use 3 different colors when I'm making mine. It's just so that they stand out easier. So this is about all we need to do in Design Space. You could make these the same colors. You're not using too much. I generally try to use some of my scrap paper up when I'm doing these so I get multiple colors. The one you really need to be plain is this one with the Happy Holidays on it. Now, a couple of things to think about here. This is going to go on one side. This is going to go on the other side. Now this is only going to bring you an ornament that is one-sided. So you have a blank big side on the other side, but that's not what we want to do. I'm going to highlight everything and we are going to duplicate it because we need 2 copies. We want the ornament to spin and go front and back. So we are ready. We're going to save this and I'm just going to call it Christmas Ornament. Actually, I'm going to call it Arabesque. Paper tile ornament. I'm going to save it Now, that is all we need to do in Cricut Design Space, but we're going to come over to Make It. Now, I don't want to be putting in a lot of mats, but I wanted to keep the colors different just to show you. So here, for example, we could probably place most of these all on one mat, but they are different colors, and that's just to show you the different colors that come through. Let's cancel this. I'll show you a little trick. We want everything to be the same color. It says multiple. It wants us to just pick on these cut items. So this one, we're going to use Shift and click to select all the different colors. See if I missed any. There's another one. And we've got a few more here that we had duplicated. I'm just using Shift and click to select them all. Now I should be able to come over here with the cut, and we'll just make them all one color. It doesn't mean you have to cut them one color. It just means they're all one color and it's easier to fit them on the mat. So now let's go over to Make It. And you'll see how everything fits on one mat. Here is where the work is going to take place. You want to make sure that you have the areas where different colors are going to go together. So say our two happy holidays here. We'll put them as close together as possible. We can fit one. Our next happy holidays can come up here. So that's going to be on a different color paper. Now these two are going to fit together as one color. I'll probably bring this down. I'm going to bring this one down. I'm going to push these ones over to the top corner. They'll be out of another color paper. And these two together. Now, they're all going to cut out. I'm just going to move these up a bit. Cut out on the same mat. But now, if you take a note of all the measurements, you can actually put different pieces of paper in each section, so different colors, so they come out different colors. So when you cut it, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you could have 6 different colors or more, depending on what you want. So the front and back are different. Or you may decide to keep these two one color, these two another color. So you can make a decision. Means for me 6 different colors that I'm going to put on there, and it's going to turn out really gorgeous by just doing it this way. What you need to do is understand that your paper is going to go from the 1 inch mark for this first one to 7 by 4. The other piece will fit in right beside it to the 4 inch. You want about 4, just under the 4 for this one, to 7, and then down to the 8.5. Then you put another piece at the bottom. So just make note of what you're going to do here. We'll simply click on Continue. And the beauty of this is you only have to do one mat. You don't have to move them when you get to the other place. So that's the beauty of coloring everything in one color, even though you know you're not going to cut them out in that way. All right, for our material selection, I'm going to use a medium cardstock, but you could use anything that you have here. You could use a foil, you could use glitter. I wouldn't use iron-on per se, but you could use a stencil film. It depends on what you want to make it from. We're going to stick with a medium cardstock. And all it's going to do is ask us for our pen. It wants a 0.4 pen. That means fine tip for writing. And then, of course, the fine point blade. And that is all you're going to need. I have an 80-pound cardstock in there. I'm going to go ahead and make that. And I will see you back on the other side when we go to put this together. So here we are in our demo table here, and I've cut all this out, as you can see, with all the different pieces of paper here, that I cut some in the same color and some differently. I used 3 different colors of paper, but here it is on the mat, and of course all we want to do is take it apart. Really easy. We've got a couple of pieces here. It's not going to be a big issue. Okay, there's a couple of things you want to have prepared before you want to put the rest of this together. You have all of your pieces. You want a couple of pieces of ribbon, so that's so you can hang them up. This is how I did this one, and I hang them up this way. This is a pretty wide ribbon, but we're not going to use anything quite that wide. All of your parts, and I have these foam pads. They're just adhesive foam squares we're going to use. They're a double-sided adhesive. I got these at Michael's. Pretty inexpensive. I think they were $2 or $3 at Michael's. And you know, they're a pretty good size pad, but that's all we care about because we're going to keeping these things together. I will just open this up ahead of time so that we have a few of the pieces. It comes with 2 sheets. I will give you a link. One is very small pads and one are big, so you get the 2 sizes with it. I am using a straight punch here for this particular tool. You can use an awl or anything else in order to do some perforations, and that's to fit in the strings. You need all of your pieces together here, and we're going to start assembling this in a moment, but I just want to put them together to make sure we've got all our parts and pieces. And there's our big ones, our next size, and our next size. So it looks like we have everything together. This is going to be a simple make. Now the first thing I want to do is take the 2 larger pieces. Now this one's got a little bit of a bend in the top. Should be okay. I'm going to pierce my hole as close to the center as possible. Now I've got it pierced through. I'm actually going to work it a little bit to make it a bigger hole. Yes, you could cut it with your Cricut. I tend not to. I do it afterwards, because in reality you can actually put something over top of that to reinforce that hole so it doesn't break. So I have that piece put together. It looks like it's a little narrower than this. We may open it up a little bit. You could actually use a hole punch for this as well. This one's a little thinner at the top, so I may punch right about here. Just bring it through, may give it a couple of pokes just so my ribbon fits through. Don't worry if it looks a bit messy. You won't see it in the long run. So we have our couple of holes here. I will get out a 3-hole punch and just will get out a 1-hole punch. Now you can see that this is pretty wide, but as long as I get it in the center, we'll be good to go. The ribbon is definitely going to fit through that. I might do the same thing with this one. So you have a choice of which one you want to do. I want to make sure they're lined up beautifully here. So you have a nice hole here. Now you could reinforce this with a bit of plastic or a bit of Scotch tape, but you just want to have enough room so that this fits through. And like I said, you could cut it on your Cricut. Some people don't want the holes because they're going to be doing something a little different with it. Now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to put the writing onto the second pieces here, and we'll do that with all 4. Now my foam here is pretty thick, so I may not have to put more than 1 piece depending on how far apart I want it to go. So let's just put a couple. I'm going to actually double it up. To me, sometimes this is the harder part because you want to double things up. Now these are great because you can put them 2 on top of each other and then hold them in place from there, and they will not fall apart. So let's get our happy holidays here. I'm sort of smudging it a little bit. Let's put it on there. As you can see, you get a nice 3D effect. Looks really good. I'm going to do the same with this one. Now, our last is to put in the thread. So I have this nice ribbon here. I'm just going to twist the end a little bit. I'm going to weave it through the holes. try and center it as much as possible. That looks really good. Then we want to finish it off with just a little tie here. You can add a bow to the top if you wish. Very slippery. Now I'm just going to tie it in place. And so we have our first one. This next one, I have a nice little gold color that we can put through, and I have a tapered end here that can fit through. We'll just fit it through that hole. Get approximately halfway. If you had a two-sided ribbon, it probably would look a lot better. Like this one has both sides the same. This one has a dull side on the inside, so you may have to adjust for that. And there we go. We have our two ornaments. So what we used, I used a hole punch. I used some of these pads, adhesive double-sided pads. I used either an awl or the hole punch, and that was it. Well, I hope you had a lot of fun making the Arabesque paper tile ornaments, and this is just two of the examples of what we put together. It was so much fun, and it was so easy, and you don't have to worry about the heaviness of the tile to put on your tree or decorate other areas of your home. So, one last thing, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and happy crafting!